AJ, my boy, come in, sit down, make yourself comfortable and write your frickin' review already. I'm kidding. Love you. Hey guys, this is B. Harper from Supermaster.com and welcome again to yet another sequel review. Today I'm going to be looking at Dracula's Daughter, made in 1936, directed by Lambert Hillier and starring Gloria Holden, Edward von Sloan, Irving Pritchell and Otto Kruger. So, very brief history lesson for you. Universal was phenomenally successful with Todd Browning's Dracula. You know, the one starring Bela Lugosi, that little movie. But did you know that Bram Stoker's Dracula the book had a prequel? Dracula's Guest. So what happens in Dracula's Guest is that you have this unnamed narrator who comes into Dracula's castle in order to do a couple of jobs for him. While there, he comes into contact with one of Dracula's brides. You do not see Dracula at any given time during the story, even though he somewhat pops up as a cameo in the form of a written letter. But I digress. So what happened was this. Even though Todd Browning's Dracula was enormously successful, Florence Stoker, who was Bram Stoker's widow, still held the rights to Dracula's Guest. So, David O. Selznick went to Florence Stoker, they thrashed out a deal, and finally, she got a lot of money, and Universal finally got the creative property. But, rather than adapting this short story, they made something completely different, Dracula's Daughter. Okay, so this is going to sound very, very controversial, but here's my opinion about Dracula's Guest. Even though it stays well within the vein of the Dracula lore and it still remains an essential, part of the story, in a sense, I really didn't find it that exciting. And in saying that, the way Universal was able to make a completely different story based on this product, it is amazing, because Dracula's Daughter, to me, is better than Todd Browning's Dracula. I know! Oh my god. But allow me to explain my reasons. A lot of my love for this movie comes from the fact that Gloria Holden is phenomenal. Gloria Holden plays Dracula's daughter, Countess Maria Zaleska, and even rather than looking for revenge as to what happened to her father, she's actually looking for redemption. Now, this being a horror story, it doesn't work out the way, she probably would have well wanted, but you know what? This is a good movie. Why? Well, once again, it doesn't necessarily deal with the bloody business of revenge. This is about a character looking for redemption. She is trying to escape the curse that has been imposed upon her family. And with her father being dead, she finally sees her chance in order to achieve a sense of nirvana. But things do not go the way as they are planned, and it's because she mainly underestimates her own predatory nature. Gloria Holden is a revelation in this movie. She is not conventionally pretty. She doesn't follow any sort of, Hollywood notion as to what the physical female body should look like, but that is what works in her favour. She is not ugly, but at the same time, she has a very transgressive appearance about her. She undoubtedly looks feminine. But at the same time, she also looks incredibly masculine. But it's one thing to talk about her looks in this movie, it's quite another to discuss her actions. And by golly, even though this was not the first film to address the notion of bisexuality, this movie has the lead female antagonist / protagonist seducing a male and a female, or rather a female and a male respectively. And in one particularly controversial scene, her character seduces a female. She seduces a female victim. Now, here's what happened. If you are familiar with Tony Scott's The Hunger, you will probably realize that Dracula's Daughter, pretty much inspired that movie. Why? Well, in this particular sequence that involves Countess Dracula seducing this female character, it's all done very, very erotically. So what happens is that Countess Dracula has sent her manservant, Sandor, not Clegane, I'm sorry, to, bring back to her a victim because she's starting to, crave the thirst. So he brings her back and it's under the pretense that she's going to be painted. And even though this film was very much, subjected to the Hays Code, it is still quite suggestive. There's nothing particularly overt about it, and it's not really in your face, of course, but the way it is played out, and namely, from, Gloria Holden's performance, it is so erotic. Much like Bela Lugosi, She has these penetrating eyes that are able to, stare right into your soul. And you would believe that this woman can make anybody do anything for her. And the same goes for this hapless woman who becomes her victim. It's a sexy, sinister, and very erotically charged scene, but at the same time, it is so incredibly chaste. I love it when scenes are able to do that. Even though there is a time and a place for the more explicit stuff, my preference to, sexuality in movies comes from, a veiled, almost chaste version of it. Even though at the same time, it is so sexual. It's a great scene, and it comes to life thanks to Holden's performance. The rest of the movie is quite good too, because even though she is steadily giving in to her own hubris, she is trying so hard to escape the curse that has been imposed upon her. She can't help the way she is, but at the same time, she doesn't want to be. She wants to be more than that. She wants to escape this this terrible malady that has been placed upon her bloodline. And yeah, it's a very surprising type of movie, and for my money, I think it is so much more better than Dracula's Guest, because I know this is going to sound controversial, but Dracula's Guest, the novel, is quite boring. It's, really, nothing really happens in it. But in Dracula's Daughter, it is so different, because it takes measures to, take a couple of steps ahead of Todd Browning's Dracula. It's not afraid to push the boundaries, but at the same time, it is aware of its own limitations. It is very much a mood piece, you see. It is very well filmed, and even though, Lambert Hillier has his own, means of lensing a movie, you still get the sense that he is staying absolutely faithful to Todd Browning's vision. That the camera angles and the way that the shots are composed, this really is a direct sequel to Todd Browning's Dracula in all senses of the term. It's really good. The rest of the cast is equally impressive as well, namely from Irving Pritchell, who plays Sandor, who is Countess Dracula's manservant. He's very stoic, and at the same time he is so deadly loyal to his mistress. He's like a dog. He's a loyal guard dog who will do anything it takes in order to see that his mistress is pleased. It's oh God, that's what this movie does. It defies convention, but at the same time, it wears its values so readily on its sleeve. Now, going into some of the, a bit more trivia. I'm sorry, I'm completely tongue-tied today. I really do apologise. But apparently there was some footage filmed for this movie that shows Countess Dracula in a more sadistic light. You see, in a sense, I think it is a reference to Elizabeth Bathory. And Elizabeth Bathory, I won't go too much into detail, but she was a fantastical horse beast serial killer. She was a countess in Europe, and she was known to, kill beautiful young women and bathe in their blood and blah blah blah. She tortured, she killed. She was a very lovely human being. So, in saying that, Countess Dracula took this historical reference and applied it to the character of the Countess. She was shown as being very sadistic, and when she tortured her male victims, you could see she took pleasure in it. Now, I haven't seen this footage myself, but that would have been really interesting in this movie. And at the same time, even though she's inflicting all of this pain on her male victims, they want more of it. It's like sadomasochism, guys. Like sadomasochism in a 1930s movie. Now, even though sexuality was no new thing in the 1930s when it came to Western cinema, it was still very much a very closeted thing. So I feel if they included these scenes in this movie, I don't think it would have been released. Which is a shame, though, because in contemporary in this contemporary day and age, we wouldn't even bat an eyebrow at this, because I have a feeling that even though its material is very sensationalistic, it still probably wouldn't have been as explicit as it was originally made out to be. But I digress. So, Countess Dracula, or rather, Oh god. Dracula's Daughter. I would give it a 4 out of 5. It is a very solid sequel, and its premise, to me, is incredibly inventive. Rather than have the character of Maria Zaleska going out and being vicious and cruel and nasty just because, you know, somebody killed her father, but the fact of the matter is she is looking for a sense of purity. She doesn't want to be this bloodthirsty creature. She wants to be normal, but you know, it doesn't work out that way. And it's a very relatable context. It's having a monster who can't help the way they are, but at the same time they want to be more. It's cool. So, that being said, that was my my very slapdash review of this movie, and I really do recommend it. If you liked the first Dracula, I actually think you will like this movie more, because I know I did. But I'm only speaking for myself when I say that. So, yes, Dracula's Daughter, a 4 out of 5. Very solid, very well made, and once again, Gloria Holden is phenomenal in this movie. She is just... she's great. She is amazing. So, yeah, that was my review, and thank you once again for tuning in. And as usual, I shall see you another time. See you around.